Alright, my dirty workbench here. I'm going to show you guys just what I'm doing to make the returnless Honda system a return style system. If you're doing boost or something like that, you don't absolutely need it until, 350 wheel horsepower or something. People have made a little over that on this totally stock fuel hat here and everything. You just need really big injectors, because obviously it's not going to be boost referenced. So anyways, to make it return style, basically what I did to start, well, I put a barb right here for a return, because you just got the one coming out for the feed. And then the other thing you're going to have to do is, this is your regulator, so it's built into this whole system. Basically that just is hooked up right here like that, and I'll show you what I originally tried to do. So this is the regulator. You got the spring in there. Once it hits a certain pressure, it releases right here. This was just open, and I just plastic welded it, and it held fine. Obviously, it's been running like this, but I'm losing pressure still. So I've got a pressure gauge to show my pressure, and I'm losing fuel pressure under boost. So I just kind of did a real ghetto test of this thing. Basically blew into this, which is where the fuel comes out to go up into the engine, and then this is where your fuel pump sits, and I basically just plugged both holes and it was still coming out of this. So this just plain leaks. So what I'm going to do here is plastic weld that hole shut. I've plastic welded a lot of stuff, and it always holds better than I think it will. So I trust it at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll kind of show you guys everything else I'm doing here. Okay, I just finished that up. So here's kind of what it looks like. I'm going to kind of, oh, you can't see. I'm going to kind of go over it a couple more times, but basically I just melted it. It actually caught on fire because there's gas. So it caught on fire, and then I was able to pinch it with some pliers and basically close it shut, and I smashed it to kind of just jam everything in there, and then I'm going over it with a zip tie. So I'll show you basically how you do it. It's super easy. You pretty much just heat up your zip tie till you see it start dripping, okay, and then you paint it on. Obviously it's not going to work because I get too much distance from the torch, but you just kind of heat this up, paint it on. If you just heat this up, it's going to catch on fire, and then you're going to just melt everything at once, which it's kind of fun. All you're trying to do is plug that hole. It's ugly, but it works. Yeah, so next step here. So next thing here is, if you're upgrading the fuel pump, it's going to look like, this is a Volvo 255. I'm 99% sure it's a knockoff. I tried to order a real one off eBay, but it's just not going to happen unless you absolutely know for a fact. But anyways, what you have to do to install these, this looks like it's going to just slide right up there when you get it. There's some stuff over here that the pump just clicks into, the factory one. It's even got the same connection here, which makes it easy. But it looks like it's going to slide in. It's just a little bit too big. So what you do have to do is you have to clearance for this. This is a little bit bigger. I did kind of grind away at this, and then I just decided to cut this all up. But I did have to grind away at this, and then the next difference, where this metal begins, is higher up. So the plastic on the factory pump extends further down than this. So this is actually going to bump up here and not see properly. So what you have to do is basically just, you'll see it once you do it, but you got to play around with it to where this hose barb will go all the way up into the factory location, and then it's not going to stay there. I'll show you how I handle that. But anyways, keep grinding away at it until you get it fully seated up there. And then you're going to have to play around with O-rings. So I have just a universal set of O-rings. I found one that worked for me. I don't think the factory one works. I tried it, and I ended up barely even be able to run naturally aspirated. So find yourself a different O-ring that's going to work for how big this is and how big this is. Alright, I just want to go over this real quick. So the reason I'm doing all this and going over it is because I was still having issues maintaining pressure under boost. It wasn't as bad. I could still make 4 or 5 pounds and I'm okay. But what I'm going to do this time is this little clip is for the factory one, from the factory pump. And then I've got an O-ring under here, got a big O-ring, and I got another little O-ring. So I'm hoping these all kind of compress together and create a good seal inside that tube. Because it did leak before. Not the second time, I believe. I believe my return was the cause of losing pressure the second time. But just to make sure, I'm going to hope this works. We'll find out. Alright, here is where things get probably too ghetto for most people. So, you can see my pump's all burned up here. Yeah, so I don't have a filter on that. It's got that mesh in there, and then this whole assembly is a filter. So I'm not running any sort of filter on the bottom here. I just don't run it, all the way out of gas, and I'm fine. So to hold the pump in, because obviously you don't have anything to hold the pump in anymore, I cut up this little piece of PVC. That sticks on the end of there, and then when I sink this whole assembly down into there, and it compresses, it holds my pump up into place. So I'll put it together. I can't really do it with one hand, but basically this is going to hold my pump into place. It's been running like that for, I don't know, 3,000 miles, and it works fine. Okay, one of the last things I want to touch on is my return here. You could see Honda had originally built this so that they could change it to a return style system. So I just drilled this out a little bit smaller than my barb here, and I screwed it in. I didn't tap it or anything. I just cranked down on it hard as I could until it pretty much was flush on the bottom here. Can't see it. Doesn't matter. Screw it in until it's good. It's a return. It doesn't have any pressure. All it is free-flowing fuel back to the pump assembly. Okay, so we're back at the tank now. So I just got this on. If you're wondering how I do it, I just hammer on one of these. The ring turns. It screws on. It's really simple. It just takes a while to get the ring, the rubber ring seated into the top of the gas tank. Once you get that seated, you can put this ring on and hammer on it. So here I have my return line. So this is a 3/8 return line, and the feed is down to a 1/4 inch at one point. So super backwards, but I have this size in case the 1/4 inch is not sufficient for my power. I'm going to do a little test at the end to see if I fix my problem as it is. But anyways, that return line I fed up through the bottom, and I'll show you where it comes out under the hood. Okay, so in this jumbled mess here is my regulator. So this is your basic $30 eBay regulator. I did not buy a whole kit. I just bought the regulator with the gauge on the front so that I could read if I was making the correct pressure, and turns out I wasn't. So I'm glad I did that. But basically, I just found all the fittings that were needed to hook up to my stock line here. This is obviously all hacked up because I had a regulator in it before it was return style. So anyways, coming from back there, you'll recognize on your car, that's what the feed looks like. Hooks into this. This is your stock feed line. Only difference, I have a barb in it. You do not need that at all. That's just, I left it there because I could not get the barb out. So that's, anyways, your stock feed line. It comes into my regulator on the side here. So you can do your own exploring for getting your fittings. But basically, you're going to need the push lock style. So this on this side is my stock barb, or my stock line going into a barb, and that is going into I don't remember what they're called. They're swivel something. But anyways, you can't just screw in a 6AN tapered fitting. So the AN stuff needs to be either with an O-ring and straight thread, which is what this fitting is, or it needs to have that kind of, at the end it tapers in and it goes into another fitting. That does not work. So I had to go from one fitting to this fitting to get it to work. I had to do that on both sides here, and then underneath, I'll see if I can get a view, is my return line. Yeah, you can see the brass right there. So that is connected to my return there. So you can see, yep, that right there, that's my line. It goes back to the tank. So that comes out of the bottom of the regulator. So stock feed this side through the regulator to my stock rail. So I think that's the biggest difference between what I'm doing and what most guys do. So basically your return is just right before the rail. I've seen a lot of guys run it this way on different builds, not Honda builds. I'm sure there's people do it, but I'm just testing to see what works. So we're going to go test it. We'll get a video of it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're going to do a quick pull. I have a live feed from a camera of my gauge here. So if it drops a bunch under boost, and it is definitely not. So I am gargling on fuel now. So the biggest difference is that plastic welding I showed you. So I plastic welded that hole shut to where the original stock regulator was. So basically that regulator was leaking so bad in another spot on the regulator itself that it would not hold pressure. I'm actually making about 10 psi at my base, higher than it was. So if you're gonna do this whole setup, it does absolutely work. I will update the description or something. If it doesn't, actually I wouldn't even post this obviously. But yeah, if you want to do this kind of setup, it's going to work for you. It's super cheap. Probably cost me around 150, 175 bucks for the line and regulator and everything. Just do what I followed along in the video. I did obviously not go into detail how to remove the pump and everything. If you're doing a turbo build, you should know how to do that already. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good day.